How's it going, everybody? This is me again, Chewy, one of the hosts of the podcast titled Exploring the Myths Behind the Legends. And I am once again joined by my good friend Monica.
Hi, guys.
Who is now back in her hood.
In my hometown. Well, not my hometown, but like my home right now.
Your current place of residence, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a shame because I would have liked to do more live episodes with you, but I mean...
Oh, that would have been cool. But there'll be more times.
Down the road, for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, you made it back, which is good. I mean, you were telling me the story, and you had some difficulties along the way, but...
Yes, but I survived. I almost died in the heat in the middle of the desert on the way over here, but we made it. We made it through.
It's been hot down here. Actually, no, it hasn't. It has not been hot down here. I'm lying to you. It was raining.
Yeah.
It was raining all week. I mean, you were here most of the week.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you saw how it was raining most of the week, and even today it's still like overcast and cloudy. It's warmer than it was during the week, but it's not hot yet.
Yeah.
I think it's about 90 degrees, which is warm for us down here.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and that's the thing. Like it's funny because like I went to visit, right, and I planned to go to the beach. I even paid for the freaking like Airbnb and everything. And then the day of, like, it started raining. It didn't rain the day before. Like, it was like a little drizzle, but the day of it started raining. And we get to the beach and it's like pouring, dude. And then I mean, we got lucky that within a couple hours the rain just stopped, like giving us a little window to just kind of like enjoy the beach. But the waves are crazy. Like the waves. And in South Padre Island, like, we don't get, like, big waves. Like, they're not big. Like, it's not surfing waves. It's just kind of, like, little, like, boogie board, waves, like, just like, little tiny waves. But that day, they were pretty big. Like, compared to what I've seen in my entire life, like, they were pretty big. And the water was angry. It was turbulent. Like, the current was really strong, but it was still fun. Like, I got kicked down by one of the waves, but I survived it, so that was cool. And then as soon as we started to leave, that's when it started drizzling. So it's like the universe gave us like a little like gift, like they're like, oh, you drove down all this way. Let me give you a little bit of time for you to enjoy the beach at least for today. But yeah, and then I found out that we were gonna go to the zoo on that Thursday, but Brownsville was like flooded.
Oh yeah.
And the zoo was closed, so we didn't go. Like, everything over there was just, like, horrible. So, yeah, I kind of wish it rained over here, though. We could use some rain in California. It's dry as hell.
Yeah,
literally.
I mean, I've been kind of watching the weather, and it seems like they're baking. I mean, I don't mean that as a joke. I mean, it's like,
no,
it's horrible.
Yeah, like, it's 100, like, where we were at in Arizona, it was like 120 degrees.
Wow.
And I was telling you, like, so we had to stop because I was, like, about to pass out from the heat. Like, my dogs were, like, little noodles. Like, they couldn't handle the heat either. Like, they were, it was scary. And then we got help from this guy that was a worker at the rest stop. So shout out to that dude. I can't remember his name, but he literally saved our lives because, like, it was so hot. Like, had that guy not helped us out, we could have passed out. I was, like, super close to calling an ambulance. Because it was horrible. Like, and our AC busted in the car, so like that is the worst thing that could have happened.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's dangerous. Like, we had water, we had ice, we had everything, but like it was so hot. Like, the bag was like melting like really fast. Like, the sun was like super strong. Like, it was really bad. So when we took off the next morning, so we had to stop, right? I thought, okay, it'll be cool, like, we'll just, leave really early when the air's, like, nice and fresh, and we'll be fine. And no, I woke up at, like, 2 a.m, and the air, it was still, like, it was 97 degrees. It was less hot than, like, the daytime, which was, like, almost 120, but it was still 97 degrees outside. Like, dry heat, not, like, humidity. There's no freaking breeze, no humidity in the air. Just dry heat. Like, it felt like an oven, like a preheating oven. And we got lucky that, like, towards, like, going a little bit further into California, like, once we, like, passed Arizona and everything, the air started changing, started getting a little bit cooler, and then it was, like, super cold. Like, somebody turned on the AC. Like, so it worked out, but, like, it was still very, very scary experience. I would not wish that on anyone. Like, if anybody ever decides to do a freaking trip, like from California to, you know, South Texas, or just if you're driving in Arizona or New Mexico, do not do it in the middle of the day. If you're like, and make sure that your AC, everything's working, because if that thing stops working, like, you could die. Like, I'm not joking here. Like, you could literally die. Like, it's that bad. It's no joke.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad your dogs are okay. You know.
Me too.
Yes, because I don't want to have to look for another podcast host here.
That would be unfortunate. Yes. But that's a lot of time. You gotta find that somebody that kind of matches your energy.
Yeah, no.
It's not easy.
I don't think it would
I'm
work.
one of a kind, my friend. You know.
I don't think it would work.
Aren't many like me. No, I don't think so either.
I would have to do another podcast altogether. Like, just.
Yeah. You have to give yeah, for sure.
I'm glad that you are safe and that everything worked out. So, let's go ahead and remind the listeners of our social media accounts while we're at it. We have our Facebook under Exploring the Myths Behind the Legends, and we have our Instagram under Myths Behind LGDS.
Our Twitter is Myths Behind LGDS, and you can also email us at mythsbehindlegends@gmail.com.
Cool. And we have our Letterboxd, which is a movie blog type of website in which you can review movies, comment on other people's reviews, make lists of movies you like, that you don't like, etc. And we are there under Myths Behind LGDS as well. And we have our legendary website, which is going to be under myths-legends.mailchimpsites.com.
Woo!
Awesome. And we have some news, actually. We do have a new platform in our social media list. We are now on TikTok.
Yes!
I was kind of hesitant of being on there because I feel like I'm too old to be on there, to be honest. Every time that I see a TikTok video, it's like a little kid dancing or something, and I feel weird.
You're on the wrong part of TikTok. You just need to keep going.
No, like,
until
this was like before I got on there. Like, even like, I mean, people that would send me videos, like my friends would be like, "Hey, check this out," and it's like some like kid dancing or something, or person, you know, like. And I was like, it's just kind of weird. Like, why am I gonna like
watch little kids dance?
Yeah, like, I mean, but my friends is like, oh, because it's like my nephew, or it's my cousin, or it's like my little sister or whatever. Even then, I feel a little weird. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of other stuff in there that I'm kind of still exploring. But we are in TikTok as Myths Behind Legends. We got a few videos up there already. We'll keep adding more stuff under as we are able to figure things out. So yeah, go ahead and join the party on TikTok, or you know, if you want to help us, email us some tips. I mean, something like that. Go ahead and do that, because I have no idea what I'm doing on there.
Yeah.
I think we've been there for about 3 or 4 days already, and we got about 15 followers, so that's okay.
Sweet. See, I have one, but I literally just use it to look at videos. I do not post anything because no, I can't.
You should follow us under too.
I will. I've been meaning to do that, actually.
And dude, actually, some of our videos, I'm surprised. Like, they have like over 500 views, and I was like, oh, cool, that's awesome. Like,
that's cool.
That's because like I don't even know who's watching these videos. I mean, it may just be like computer bots, but if that's cool, man.
Yeah. Keep on watching computer bots.
Yes. So, all right. Real quick, Monica, what movie are we reviewing today? I mean, I'm sure people know already, but
we're doing Fear Street Part 2.
Chan, chan, chan. Nice. So we'll be right back with our critique segment on Fear Street 1978 after this break. All right, everybody. So we are at our critique segment. If you are a repeat listener, then you should know that in this segment, Monica, we talk about the way the movie's shot, cinematography, the atmosphere, the acting, the soundtrack, film score, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to be a first-time listener, then you already know what this is about. I just told you. So I want to start off with just like a little recap, just real quick, of the kind of lore that's been built for these movies. Mm-hmm. Basically, it seems that people in this town called Shadyside seem to turn into evil serial killers, like randomly, and pretty much overnight. A lot of them happen to feel that the town is cursed, or maybe even themselves as people are cursed. Mm-hmm. And it's because of this lady named Sarah Fier that was accused of witchcraft back in the 1600s. Also, it seems that only people in that town are affected because they have a neighboring town that's like about 20, 30 minutes away, right?
Yeah, the nicer part of the area.
Yeah, so people from that town they seem to be like living their best life. They're all rich and preppy, and they have all these mansions. And the people in Shadyside are all like poor and
in the ghetto. Yeah,
they can't trust anybody because the person that their next door neighbor may become a serial killer the next morning or the next evening or something. Mm-hmm. So, how would you feel, Monica, living in a place like that where you're kind of trying to get on in life and you know this person and they're like your coworker or your classmate or a friend of your family, and then you hear, oh, so-and-so killed 5 people yesterday?
I mean, at that point, if I lived there for a long time, I'd probably be desensitized to it, but I would want to leave. I'd want to get out of there, because who wants to be surrounded by potential murderers, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's funny you bring that up, you say it like that, because I think a lot of people in that town already like gave up on caring on that, right?
Mm-hmm. They just want to get out. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the goal for every teenager, is like, let's just get out of this town. But they somehow can never really make it out, you know? It's hard.
Yeah, because remember in the first movie when they were doing the reports and the mall killings, where the sheriff was being interviewed and he was just kind of like, well, I guess, it happened again. You know, like...
Just like, hey, Shadyside, yeah.
Yeah, so how many people live in there?
Dude, how many people are still alive? That's what I want to know. Like...
And I want to talk about something pertaining to something similar to this in a minute here, but... So, how do you feel about this movie? What are your first impressions, just real quick?
I liked it. It gave me Jason vibes, you know? Like, the camp, everybody's, like, f***ing around or getting killed. It's very, still the slasher-ish type of thing. You know, the axe really, really, like, chef's kiss. Like, I kind of noticed that they didn't show the kids dying.
Oh, no.
Like, the kids, you know, like, they kind of just, like, you knew they were getting murdered and, like, hacked to death, but they weren't showing it. And, you know, I understand why. It's kind of messed up to see a child get, like, their like, brain, you know, chopped up, but I thought that was interesting. And then, really good acting. I really liked it. I loved it. I think I liked it better than the first one.
I agree with you. I think I liked this movie better than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think the first one was bad. I mean, we gave it an 8.
Oh, yeah.
And keeping in mind, like, we're rating these movies as their own subset in the genre of horror. Like, we're not comparing them to movies like Midsommar or movies that are more intellectual like that, because it's not the kind of movie that it is. So you really can't say, oh, this is not like Hereditary or this. I mean, I'm not a big fan of those movies, and you know this. I keep saying this.
No, you keep saying it. You keep preaching it.
Any chance that I get, thank you.
I know.
But I'm not comparing. I'm not saying these movies are better content-wise, or I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is I acknowledge the fact that movies like Midsommar and Hereditary are more intellectual, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. It's not what I want in a horror movie, though. For the most part, yeah. I want to see. It sounds messed up, but I want to see violence. I want to see people like suffering, and because that's what I grew up in.
Or yeah,
that's the kind of movies that I was brought up on. As far as the '80s, I grew up watching Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers. That's like the holy trinity of slasher villains.
Yeah.
So that's keeping that in perspective because somebody's like, why do you give this movie an 8? Dude? Like somebody gave us feedback on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like somebody that I know.
Okay.
They were like, so why do you give this movie an 8? I mean, it's a good movie, but I didn't think it was that great. I mean, that person would said they would have given it like a 5 or a 6. But that's because they're not fans of slasher movies. See, and every kind of little subset of the genre has its fan base, and I understand that. But if I were to compare this to a movie like Hereditary, for example, maybe I would bring my score down. I mean, well, I'll say what my score is later, but they probably would have. The score for this movie would probably come a little bit down. If I were to compare it to something else, but as a slasher movie, like as what it is.
And that's the thing that, I mean, we said this in the last episode too. It's like a slasher film, you know, so that's what we're comparing it to, and that's why we gave it the score that we gave it. You're not gonna compare like two plates from different cuisines together, you know, like, of course I have to bring food into this, but but it's like, you know, you can't, because it's made with different ingredients. It's supposed to have different flavors, you know, so why would you do that with the movies? So yeah, I mean, of course.
I agree with you. Going back to the whole Jason thing, this movie is a huge throwback to Jason, Friday the 13th. And I'll go into that in a little bit, but I want to say maybe that's why I like this movie more than the first one, because I would see things in this movie that I've seen in Jason movies before, and I'm like, dude, that happened in part 4. This happened in part 3, whatever. Yeah. Something very similar, or like a similar scene, or the way that it was shot, or something. And so this, as a Jason fan, was like, oh,
yeah.
To me personally, like I make that connection because, of course, I'm in the setting, the summer camp setting. Although this happened in 1978, and just historically, real quick, Halloween, the first Halloween, came out in '78.
Oh.
But Friday the 13th came out in 1980, I believe. And Jason's not even in that one as a character. They mention him, but he's not the killer in the first one. Spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie. He doesn't come out until part 2, and I didn't connect it the first movie because I was kind of caught up in the whole reviewing live reaction thing, but the look of this guy is the look that Jason has in part 2. Because Jason in part 2 doesn't have the hockey mask yet. He has like a potato sack or something.
Oh, okay.
Which is what this guy ends up having on his head after a while.
Yeah.
And he's the one that comes out in the first movie. He's one of the 3 killers, right?
Yeah.
Because you see the skeleton dude, and you see the girl, and you see this guy.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was like, dude, that's like straight up Jason. Rather, he looks just like Jason, except he's got an axe.
Yeah.
And Jason had well, I think he has an axe in part 2 also. I think I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a while, but
I can't remember either.
Dude, it's like straight up like tributes to Friday the 13th, and to me that's awesome because we need more movies like this in the world. Thank you.
I also liked all the little tidbits of references to Stephen King. I thought that was really cool. I was like, yeah, oh my god, yes.
Yeah, and actually, I looked into that a little bit also because I'm a big fan of Stephen King.
Yeah.
Well, at least his earlier works. I haven't read any of his newer books in quite a while. I think the last one that I read that was newer, I can't even remember the name of it. But I mean, I'm not saying they're bad. It's just that, I guess, just like anything, when you grow up on something that seems to always be best in your eyes for some reason, or in your mind.
Yeah.
And so I looked into what they mentioned in this movie as far as, I mean, they mentioned Carrie, of course. They mentioned the Salem Slot, also, which is, if you haven't read Salem Slot, it's an awesome book. It's about vampires in a small town. It's pretty creepy. Like, it's a really, really well-written vampire book.
Yeah.
It's much better than Twilight. I mean, yeah, but basically, they as they're flirting with each other, the guy that would eventually grow up to become the sheriff.
Yeah.
And Sadie Sink, I'm just gonna call her that. Ziggy. Her name in the movie is Ziggy. As he's trying to flirt with her, whatever, they're trying to kind of bond over their love of Stephen King, whatever.
Yeah. And
so they mentioned Carrie and Salem Slot, and then the guy says something about the next book's gonna be really good, or so I heard. And the next book in the timeline, I think, happens to be the book The Stand.
Oh yeah.
by Stephen King, which again, if you haven't read it, it's an amazing book. Read the full version though, because there's like an abridged cut that's like half the length of the book.
Yeah.
The book is like 1,200 pages, dude. It's massive. It's a massive book, but it's awesome. It's amazing, and I think it's probably considered to be one of his best works outside of the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
Even though it's connected to the whole universe, The Stand on its own, it's considered to be one of Stephen King's best books of all time, I think. So yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty cool they mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to Friday the 13th a little bit, the guy's name is Tommy, right?
Yeah.
The boyfriend.
Yeah, the killer. Oh yeah.
That becomes a killer, and it's funny because Tommy Jarvis is a character in the Jason movies. He comes out in 3 of them. He comes out in part 4 as a kid. He comes out in part 5 as like a mental patient because he's so distressed over what he lived or what he went through in part 4. And then in part 6, he's the one that puts Jason to rest, for a while, because he always comes back.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe that was an Easter egg too. I mean, the guy's name is Tommy, and Tommy Jarvis is basically Jason's nemesis.
Yeah.
For like 3 movies, dude, or actually 2 movies, because part 5 Jason doesn't come up. But what do you think of the gore effects?
Awesome. I loved it. Lots of brain splatter, lots of blood, chopped off heads, cuts. I liked it.
Body parts, arms, legs.
It was great. It was very, very, very nostalgic.
Yes, because we always see just body parts hanging in the streets everywhere.
And we're like, oh, but it's, nostalgic to the movies that we used to watch when we were growing up. Duh.
And, well, going back to your point earlier about the kids, yeah, of course, I mean, it would have been really difficult for this movie to have been approved had they shown the actual scenes of the kids, because they're kids. They're like 12, 13 years old, maybe 14. Yeah. They're like middle school, high school kids that are getting slaughtered by this guy.
Yep.
So I think people aren't really ready to see that on screen. I mean, I think I would have been uncomfortable, to be honest. I mean, as much as I like these kind of movies.
Yeah, so would I.
Because as much as I praise these movies, they always kill older people. Like they're high school kids, so they're like 18. They're always like seniors for some reason. Or maybe people in their 20s. So that, I guess that makes it a little bit more okay in my mind.
Yeah, it's because like nobody wants to see a little kid get killed. I mean, even when I knew that they were going to get murdered, even though they didn't show it, it still made me feel a little uncomfy. I was like, ugh, why are they dying? Like,
yeah, I thought that was a pretty risky move too, because, and I'm gonna compare it back to another Jason movie, Part 6. That is, I think, the closest that Jason ever came to harming a kid. In one of those movies, because he always focuses on the counselors themselves, because they're always doing drugs or they're always having sex in the cabins or in the woods somewhere, which they show this in this movie also. They show the counselors having sex, which I thought was kind of a nice throwback also to those movies. When I saw the guy going for the kids, I was like, wow, it's a little bit different than the movies that I've seen, because he does end up killing some of the counselors too. But I think at the very end, in one of the very last scenes, they show all the bodies, and I think it's like 15 bodies. You just kind of throw them on the floor in body bags. It's a lot of them. This guy went on a rampage.
All body bags.
Yeah, so he killed like 4 or 5 of the counselors. He killed like 10 kids, maybe.
Yeah.
It was crazy, dude. And in Part 6, in Jason, Friday the 13th, there's a scene in which he walks into one of the cabins where all the kids are sleeping. And he's kind of like looking at one of the kids, and the kid gets so scared she starts praying, like for him to go away, whatever. And so he sees like one of the counselors outside, and he like runs after them. But that was the closest he ever came to maybe even
murdering a child.
Yeah, like trying to imply that he was gonna hurt a kid or something. But this movie goes a little bit further, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool too. I mean, it's more realistic. Like, obviously, like if there's a serial killer on the loose in camp, they're gonna kill everyone in sight, including children.
So, I want to ask you a question. How or why do you think the witch chooses the people that she does to become her killers?
Well, when we get a little flash forward, I guess, a sneak peek of the next episode, all the people that are there are like part of the other movies. So I think they're trying to say that they're descendants
Uh-huh.
of the people that were there originally in the town that ended up, killing this witch. And so that's why she's taking revenge on everybody because they are all somehow related to her murderers.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about like, the after credit scene, right, where they show like the little
Yeah.
preview. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed some of those people were the same actors, so I guess yeah, you might be right about them being their great 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 grandkids or whatever,
Yeah.
their descendants. Because the other thing that I noticed is I think she happens to choose like the best people in the town, or the people that are considered to be the most upright citizens, whatever. Because in the case of this guy, for example, Tommy, the girlfriend was saying, "Oh, he was like, the sweetest guy ever, and he was the nicest person, and he was just a great guy all in
All
all,
around.
all around." Yes, and the lady too, like the daughter of the nurse, she was the
Oh
girl
yeah.
that was the killer in the first one, and she also comes up for a little bit in this part.
Yeah.
But the lady, the nurse, says, "Oh, my daughter had all these hopes and dreams, and she was gonna get out of this town, and she was so great. She was an amazing girl, and then she just became a killer out of nowhere. Like, how does that happen?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like the witch chooses people that people would not believe or think would become killers.
Yeah. And was she only? They were mostly targeting Shady Side people, not people from. What was the other place? Is it Sunnyvale?
Sunnyvale, yes.
Yeah. So like she's straight up only going after like the descendants, basically, the people from Shady Side. Yeah.
Yeah, people from Shadyside, and I think the only exception that I saw was the boyfriend in the first movie because he was from the other town. Remember in the hospital scene where
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
they're visiting the girlfriend
Yeah,
in the
that's true. I
hospital, and
remember.
the guy shows up, and then Skeleton Face kills him.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
that I think
But
is
then in this movie, like, so, uh, what's her name? Ziggy was able to escape only because the guy Tommy got in the way, and he didn't want her. Well, actually, I guess they wanted her because she had put her blood in the
in the bones.
like with the bones. Yeah, but that was afterwards.
Yeah. What do you think that means? Because they target these people anyways,
Uh-huh.
but I think that when the blood drops in the bones, it's kind of like a more direct connection. Like they are gonna target you like directly,
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
and they're not gonna stop until you are dead, and then they'll go back to chasing after everybody else.
Yeah.
So, what do you think what that means? Or
Because they have a connection. Because if their hand is on, I mean, if their blood is on the hand, that means that there's a chance that they might stop the curse.
Mhm.
That's the only reason they're being targeted because you need the hand to basically hurt the witch, So if there's blood of you on there, she needs to eliminate the threat.
uh-huh.
So that's why they ghost right after the person whose blood dripped on the hand.
Hmm. And well, the other question I was gonna ask you is, where are all the parents? Where are all the adults in this universe? Like, there are
But
no.
you too, like it's like and then in the first movie, didn't which was funny because it had only been a couple of years or like a decade maybe, like the nurse shows up or she makes a little appearance in the first movie when I think they're trying to get the kids taken care of, like before they go off and like
Oh,
go figure
yeah.
out
She was the
stuff.
one they left the kids with.
Yeah, because they opened the door and it was her. And I remember seeing her because I was like, "Oh, that's the lady that came out in My Boys in like this show about baseball like that was on TBS a long time ago." I recognized her and I was like, "Oh, look, there's that lady." And I thought she was gonna have like a bigger role, but then nothing else happened.
Hmm.
And then I saw her in this movie and I was like, "Oh, that's who she was. Like she was the nurse, the camp,
Oh
and
wow.
her daughter was the serial killer, the whatever her name was,
Ruby. I think her name is Ruby.
Elaine. Yeah, uh-huh. So yeah, they left her with the kids. before they went off. The first
I
one.
totally missed that. I never realized that was the same person.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's cool, my friend. Thank you
You're welcome.
for pointing that out. What would I do without you?
I like to be observant sometimes, you know.
Sometimes you are useful. Ah, just kidding. No, you're always
Just for
useful.
funsies. Thank you.
But like in most slasher movies, parents or people like that are never really focused on.
Yeah.
They're always kind of shown on the sidelines, but in this movie, they're not even mentioned. Like, especially in the
Uh,
first one, where everyone makes references to the father of the main girl, Deena, being a drunk and a loser, and we never see him.
we never do. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was like, I thought at some point he was gonna be like either the cop that was gonna be her dad, or like the guy that keeps getting busted and taken into jail, the one that the
Yeah.
kid helped escape. Yeah, I was like, well, who the is the dad? You know, he doesn't show up here, like, and there's no pictures of him, so we can't figure out who he is. So like, I mean, these kids are alone all the time. Like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I've noticed about these movies, that there's always just no adults around, or for a significant amount of time at least.
Yeah,
The
because
only ones.
what's her
Sorry.
name? The girl, the girlfriend, Sam.
Hmm.
Her stepmom shows up at some point. Um,
The cop, but he's like in his 30s, maybe 40s. But by the
yes,
time of the first movie, he should be like in his late 30s, early 40s, maybe.
yeah. So it's not. It's. I don't think he's a parent of anybody.
No.
But yeah, the. It's weird. We only see one parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the stepmom.
Stepmom, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe they'll explain that further in this third movie, because
Yeah.
there have to be adults in that. They can't just be like all kids
Well,
in the village. I mean, I know we're gonna see the preacher guy, which you had mentioned that they might show who he was in this one, but they never even mentioned him.
yeah, that's true. Well, he
So
came out. He's the one who stabbed her.
really,
Yeah, he's the one who stabbed Ziggy like 7 times.
that was the preacher
It was
guy.
the. Oh, or was it the milk
I
guy?
thought it was the milkman.
It might be the milkman. I'm probably wrong. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to the next one. I want to kind of see how they resolve this, if they resolve this, because I was reading some rumors on the internet that they might actually make a series of movies about the books.
Okay.
It's all kind of just internet talk, people on message boards kind of talking, nothing for sure yet. But I think that would be cool for them to kind of make a movie out of the most known books, or some of the books, or combine some of the plots into movies. Kind of make it like an anthology.
Yeah.
Or
That'd be
if
cool.
or if not movies, then maybe like a miniseries, like on Netflix, make just like an anthology series for free. I think that'd be awesome. Because that is like my Harry Potter, that is my Hunger Games, that is my Twilight, whatever. Because when I was growing up, this was the series you were like, if you were into horror, young adult books, this was what you would read. And I feel like, and I'm going to talk about this a little more in the academic segment, but I feel like it was kind of forgotten and kind of just neglected for a long time. So it's cool that the new generations are getting to see this, and the books may not be as gory as the movies, but they are up there. They're not for kids. Like, they're not Goosebumps. They're not for kids. They're for young adults, maybe, like, or for young kids, or not young kids, but teenagers. I would say 13, 14 and up.
Yeah. There was an age restriction at the library. You couldn't read those books unless you were in a certain grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not in my school. I was in like 7th grade and I was reading all these people getting killed. Like, this is back in the 90s though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like I was in elementary and like, well, the early, well, the 90s, late 90s, but like early 2000s, and like when I would go to the library as a 5th grader, I couldn't read those books yet. They wouldn't let me. I had to wait till I was in 6th grade, which I was 13. I guess that makes more. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, there was restrictions on those books because they didn't, unless you got like cool with the librarian and she let you. But I couldn't tell my parents, obviously. But yeah, we were supposed to check out those books because they were very graphic.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. And a couple other things I want to mention before we finish our critique segment. What do you think that cocoon thing was in the bottom of the cave when they're exploring? Because they fall and they find this cocoon thing that one of the girls touches and she sees all the dead people around her and everything?
I mean, that's where all the serial killers were coming out of, and in the first movie we see them like they are that gunk, you know, like, and then because they come back after they're exploded. So I think that's just like either part of her body or her blood, or like just like the bad negative energy that she has, the curse in physical form, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking it might just be like a manifestation of her evil.
That,
Kind of just festering over the town or under the town, you know.
Yeah.
But, and the last thing is that I fell for the trick. I thought the lady that was telling the story was the older sister, not Ziggy. I don't know.
No, because she said, it was said at some point that it was the older sister that died, or my sister that died, or something.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch it at all. And when in that scene that I just talked about, when the girl touches the cocoon thing, whatever, she sees the older sister Cindy dead, and she tells her like, "Oh, I see all the people that have been killed by the witch, whatever, and you're next."
Yeah.
So I figured like, now, well, she's gonna find a way to break out of there, and the younger sister's gonna die, you know, the Ziggy. But it turns out that it was her, Ziggy, that survives at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. I'm looking forward to the next one for sure. I definitely want it to be Friday again so I can conclude the trilogy here.
Yeah.
Oh, and one last thing also, before I forget, what do you think are your predictions for the next one? Because we see Deena kind of not possessing the body of the witch, but kind of going into her mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So
she's gonna get like a little history lesson, basically. But she gets to live it out as the witch, so she gets to see the witch's perspective. So I think that because they show a scene of when the witch, Sarah, right? It's Sarah Fier, right?
Sarah Fier, yes.
Yeah, so she's like looking over a bucket of water or something, and she's got a knife. So I'm gonna say, from the looks of everybody in the town, that Sarah was either assaulted or something, and she had to protect herself in self-defense, ended up killing somebody, and then she was like hanged because she also has like, I want to say that, I mean, either she did or didn't have powers already, but her murder probably like jump-started that whole thing, because back then they would say that people were witches, but then they weren't, you know, and they would just murder them.
Yeah.
Because like somebody had an affair with a woman, and like, you know, they didn't want them to find out, so they would say, "Oh, she's a witch. She seduced me, you know, with her witch powers or whatever." So I think that's what's gonna happen in this thing. Is like something happened, somebody forced herself on her, or something, and she had to defend herself, and she killed the person in self-defense. And so somebody's wife or whatever, whoever she killed, like accused her of witchcraft, and that's why she's getting killed. So she's going to see the reality of what happened, and why Sarah Fier cursed the entire town.
So you think that she was not a witch to begin with, that she kind of became one because she was forced to because of outside factors, or?
I think, I want to say that maybe she was into the occult or something. I mean, she could have already been a witch, but like she was like not a bad witch, and then she turned into a bad one because people killed her.
Okay. Do you think that they're actually going to put her to rest at the very end of the trilogy, or is it going to be kind of like a cliffhanger?
I hope they do. I mean, I need closure.
But then that kind of shoots down the whole theory of them making a series out of this in the future.
I mean, they could, like, I mean, this is how people are, though. Like, they'll make you think that it's going to be over, and then it's like, bam, wait, there's something else.
Yeah.
Just in case they decide to continue this whole thing.
I think,
They probably will do.
I think they might leave it as a cliffhanger. Like they'll kind of put most of it to rest or whatever, but it's gonna be
Yeah.
kind of like the last shot of something creeping in the shadows that's gonna give you like a hint. I mean, even if
Mhm.
they don't go, I mean, again, this is just people that I've read on message boards, kind of just shooting theories like, oh, it's because they might do a series of the books, or they might do more movies about the Fear Street stuff,
Mhm.
which I think would be awesome. I can't get enough of this. I mean, if it's of this same quality and caliber, I mean, it's awesome. I like the way it was shot. It was the camera work was good. The acting was great. I thought. We hardly talked about the acting, but I thought it was pretty good. I think Sadie Sink did an amazing job. She's awesome, dude.
Who
Sadie Sink, the
is
Ziggy.
she? Oh yeah, she came out in Stranger Things too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even back then in that show, she's and I want to see the last season because I think the next season is the last one for that show. But
Last. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
for Stranger Things. But I think she did really, really good in this movie specifically. Like I think her acting is going up by leaps and bounds.
Places. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think she's gonna be a horror icon of sorts,
Yeah.
maybe.
Uh-huh.
Kind of in the same way that the girl from Halloween, Danielle Harris, who by the way is my queen. Uh, kind of the same way that she became a horror icon. Kind of the same way that Neve Campbell became the Scream.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
and in a lesser degree, but only because her movies weren't as popular. That girl from Cloverfield, Mary Winstead.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
She came out in Final Destination. She came out in Cloverfield.
Oh
She came
yeah.
out in the remake of The Thing from the 2012, I think.
Yeah.
She's also a great actress, and she's also bae, by the way.
Yeah.
All the pretty girls are my base. No, but she's awesome too. So yeah, I think that maybe sometime in the future, Sadie Sink will be kind of somewhere up there as far as like a horror actress.
Mhm.
I mean, it's completely up to her. I mean, if she decides to not do any more horror because she doesn't want to be typecast, that's up to her.
True.
But I think she did pretty good in this one, and everybody else, like every other actor, I think that it wasn't hammed up, it wasn't over the top. I think everyone did a within the confines of the slasher genre. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah. Same. I agree.
So, yeah, what is your score? Or well, actually, let me do the score because I gotta announce the units first. Sorry.
Okay.
So I will give this movie wholeheartedly a 9 out of 10. Deranged supernatural masked killers.
I'm gonna go with the same score.
A 9. And once again, just to be clear for the haters, well, for the people that question it, it's because I mean we already mentioned this, but it's as a slasher movie, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's awesome. We agreed on giving it a 9 out of 10.
Mhm.
Cool, my friend. Any last impressions before we move on to our academic segment?
Uh, no. I can't wait for the next one. I'm excited.
Definitely, me too. All right, so we're taking a little break and coming right back with our academic segment after these messages. Stick around. Okay, everybody, so we are now at our academic segment in which we talk about real life stuff that connects to the movie Monica, right?
Mm.
Or
Yes.
the topic of our episode at hand. And for this one, I went all basic biatch and just found some Wikipedia entries because I was actually gonna do some research on the books themselves, like more of the lore. I mentioned this, I think, in the last episode, that I was gonna try to find information about the books and the lore and everything. And I found something, but I was not able to go as in depth as I would have liked because I was busy with work this whole week. One of my coworkers went on vacation, so I had to be at work every day. And by the time I got home, and yada yada yada, so I had no time for anything. So I found this in our trusty source Wikipedia, and so I hope this information happens to be correct. I mean, I think for the most part it is. We talked about the books, Monica, but what do you remember about them? Like, why were these books so popular?
I mean, for sure, the whole like curse thing was a big theme in the books. I don't remember if they ever mentioned she was a witch, but I remember like the whole curse thing being a thing, and that being like something that I was into because I was into like witchcraft and all that. I still am, but yeah.
I've already given my opinion. I think most of the books that I read, I liked. I don't think I ever read all of them because if I believe this Wikipedia entry here, there's about 60 books in the series.
Yeah.
That's a lot of books.
A lot of books, yeah.
And most of them aren't very long. I think they're about 200-300 pages.
They were small. They weren't thick books. They were just like regular little like YA novel, books.
So not in the same scope as something like Hunger Games or stuff like that.
Oh no.
Because, I mean, the books themselves, they're set in Shadyside also, like in the movies. The teenagers are the protagonists, like in the movies also.
Yeah.
But they are more hard-edged than the Goosebumps books, like we mentioned also. So they sometimes have supernatural villains. Usually, I think most of them happen to be kind of like slasher books. Where somebody goes crazy and starts kind of just killing people left and right.
Oh my god, I have one of those books. So I was looking right now on the internet. I was like, on Google. I was like, oh, like, let me see what the covers are, right? To see if I recognize any of them. And I actually have one called The Stepsister from Fear Street. So I think I should read it and then, like, send it over to you for you to read it. And then we should talk at some point. But yeah, because I used to love, like, RL Stine books. I actually, whenever I go, like, book hunting at the thrift stores, I try to find them, but I can't. They're, like, very rare to find nowadays. But I don't remember Shadyside being referred to as ghetto or, like, the poor side. It was, like, I thought that was the preppy area of town.
From what I remember, I think they were kind of the same. Kind of like rich, upper middle class towns were small towns, maybe with no more than like 20,000 people or something, which it's kind of smaller. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing here, but I agree with you. I think it was never mentioned that it was like a poor person's town or.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, evil things happen, and people in there also believe that the town's cursed and stuff like that. So it's very similar. There are some differences, though. There are some differences from the books and the movies, of course.
Yeah.
Like, I found this here on Wikipedia, for example, where they say that it all started with the Fier family. So it's not just Sarah Fier, it's a family.
Oh, yeah.
Their last name was spelled Fier, like the Fier, like in the movies. But eventually, they actually changed it to spelled fear, like you're afraid of something.
That's what I remember that being, yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was Feer, like fear, like double E.
Oh, okay.
But according to this, it was like the word fear, like when you're afraid of something. And why would you change your last name to Fear, like Fear? If that was the case. Because it all happened, like it says here, with the Fier family, where the person that made the change was named Simon Fier in the 19th century, according to the lore of the books here.
Okay.
So Simon and his wife Angelica moved to Shadyside from somewhere in New England. Because, by the way, Shadyside is supposed to be in Ohio. In the books. I don't think they mentioned that in the movies, but in the books it's supposed to be in Ohio. So Shadyside, Ohio, and they moved there sometime after the Civil War, so in the 1800s. And then they mention here that it goes back to Puritan times, so the 1600s. I guess that connects to the movies a little bit, or to the last one. In which two people named Benjamin and Matthew Fier had an innocent girl named Susanna and Martha Good burned at the stake for being allegedly witches. Now, Good is the last name of the sheriff in the movies.
Yes.
And I remember he was, or that name from the books, and this is where that came from, I think. So, according to this, in the books, the Fiers were the ones that had people executed for being witches. They weren't the witches themselves. But the family, the Good family, that sounds a little weird, but the Good family, one of the people in that family, his name was William, he cursed the Fier family because of what he did to his wife and his daughter, They were his wife and
Yeah.
daughter, basically.
Uh-huh.
The ones that were executed for being witches. So, to avenge their deaths, he placed a curse on the entire Fier family line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's understandable up to a point. I mean, I guess you want to take revenge on people that wrong you.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you curse an entire town, dude? Like, I mean,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
excessive.
if you know specifically who it was, I mean, I would just go directly after them, which is what it says here. But apparently, this curse thing got out of hand. Maybe he overdid it, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of 10 like goat's feet, he put like 20, and it's kind of like, you know, just for. in the curse, I mean, I have no idea. I'm just
Yeah.
making stuff up, but.
No, I was looking at Amazon right now, and I was like, the ones that I remember are the cheerleader ones.
Uh-huh.
Those are the ones that, but those they talk about ghosts and like stuff like that. So this, I guess that's always been like a thing.
There's different kinds of stuff, man. I mean, they had ghosts. One of them had vampires, like we mentioned in the last.
Oh yeah, remember
episode.
those? Yeah.
They had, for the most part, slashers. But
Uh-huh.
it's because there's different series in the Fear Street saga. There's the regular Fear Street books, which is all the slashers type of stuff, and then the I guess those the cheerleader ones, which are the supernatural ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like, I don't know if it was called Fear Street After Dark or something
Okay.
like a subtitle. Those were the ones that had the vampires and stuff like that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Fear Street saga was the origins of Fear Street. So this is like, that's a series in which they talk about what happened in the 1700s. You know, that was a series that kind of started detailing the story from the past 2-3 centuries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty rich lore.
Yeah.
Mythology or whatever you want to call it. So how does someone create all this?
I don't know. Watching a lot of Jason movies and like slasher movies because this was from the 80s. So yeah.
I mean, this guy's a good writer, man. Like I mentioned in the past segment, I think he was kind of neglected for a long time. He was forgotten almost. I think I would tell people that I would read these books and I think I heard about him, but who wrote them? And
yeah,
like, dude, RL Stine, like, and they're like, that doesn't ring a bell.
that one. Well, I mean, I used to read him and Christopher Pike, and I think that's the only. And Stephen King after that, because Christopher Pike also did YA novels like this. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever read one of his books.
No?
I don't think so. I mean, I might have, but which strikes me as funny because you mention him all the time, and I've heard other people mention him also, and I can't remember if I ever read one of his books or not, dude. Maybe they just didn't have him at my library.
Maybe, because in mine, they were always in the same section as R.L. Stine, like horror YA novels. Like they were there. So whenever I would run out of R.L. Stine ones, I would go to Christopher Pike, and I made my way through all those books, and then I was finally old enough to read the Stephen King books.
I think my library had about 10 or 15 R.L. Stine books.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 20, because I remember reading a whole bunch of them, dude. And I would read a book every different like week or whatever. So pretty much every week I'd be reading a different book, and I'd be just checking them in or out all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I can't remember Christopher Pike. For all that I'm thinking about right now, I can't. But like I said, maybe they just didn't have him there. Dude, because our library was small, dude. We had like one little tiny room that they kind of put books in, and like.
Okay, ours was pretty big. Yeah.
After a while, they made it into a bigger library, but still they were not putting as many books. I mean, they would have other stuff in there, like encyclopedias and stuff like that. So they couldn't just have horror books or whatever. But when I went to high school, they had a huge library, but most of those books were from other stuff. Like, I mean, not just horror novels. They had also like historical fiction and stuff like that. So they did have a few Stephen King books in the library. I remember I read a couple in there or from there, but. Yeah, so going back to the Fear Street saga, though, it says here that the characters are different in every book, so there's a different protagonist in every novel, but that sometimes they do bring back some plots or some story points from other books and kind of connect them to whatever book you're reading. So it says here that one of the guys in the book, The New Girl, comes out in other novels several times. And like we've said before, this series of books takes place in the late 80s or the 90s.
Uh-huh.
That's a nice time to live, dude, I think. I really can't imagine myself living in any other time period. Or growing up, rather.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, looking back at it now, it's like, man, I wish I would have appreciated things more when I was a kid.
I wish I would have grown up as a teenager in the 90s. That would have been fun.
That was me, yeah.
Lucky you. You should have appreciated it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was a teenager in the late 90s. Like, in 90... I was 13 in 97. But, I mean...
Oh, okay.
I finished high school in 2002. Almost 20 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. I just sprained my back saying that.
Oh.
So yeah, like, the next thing that is here on this list is what I was talking about. That he took a long hiatus from the books.
Uh-huh.
He stopped writing in the early 90s with Fear Street Saga, and he didn't take it back up until 2014, so about 7 years ago. And then it says here that he had tried to write new Fear Street books for years, but that book publishers thought that, nah, that's kind of like already over. We can't publish books about serial killers and, you know, targeting teenagers, because now what teenagers want to read is stuff like Twilight and dystopian landscapes and Hunger Games where the world ended and the teenagers are the heroes. Mm-hmm. So why do you think that kind of topic became so popular? The whole, like, end of the world society type of thing where teenagers have to kind of step it up and save the day.
Wasn't there some, like, war going on during that time, or like some talk of, like, the Cold War? I don't know if that was in the 90s, but like there was some
earlier in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why. I mean,
because the wall in Berlin fell in the late 80s. I think it was 88 or 89.
Yeah.
I remember footage from that coverage, or, you know, of that news story as it was happening. I was watching it live with my parents. Vaguely remember it. I mean, I was like 5 or 6 when that happened. And then I remember the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s, like 91, 92. I remember watching the news about that too.
Mm-hmm.
By that time I was like 7 or 8. So the whole, like, Hunger Games type of stuff, I don't remember it being a thing until maybe the early 2000s or mid 2000s.
Yeah.
But that would have been the people that were growing up in that time, in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Around that whole philosophy of, you know, communism and all this stuff as it was happening in the 80s. And I guess those people are the ones that grew up to write books like The Hunger Games and books like, what is the other one? Maze Runner?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Stuff like that, where it's like a dystopian society, because they remember growing up around that time where that ideology was rampant.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you might have a point there.
Yep.
So RL Stine said that, yeah, that's what they told him. Like, we can't publish books like that anymore. Like, what you're right, because kids want to read about end of the world scenarios where teenagers are the heroes and they save the day. So he's like, well, whatever. So what happened is, oddly enough, he went on Twitter. RL Stine, according to this, he went on Twitter. Dude, I gotta follow him. I gotta find him.
Yeah.
Like, follow furiously.
Follow Sting, but I don't think I've looked for RL Stine. Maybe I do, and he just doesn't post it.
So, according to this, he went on Twitter, you know, in the early 2010s, and he's like, well, people, I'm sorry, I'm trying to write books, but no one wants to publish them. So somebody, an editor from a book company, called him after he was reading, like, all the threads and everything about him, and people were like, yeah, you know, that's not cool, whatever, we want you to write more books, and these people don't know what they're talking about, blah, whatever. So according to this, some book editor was reading the threads, and he's like, you know what, I'll give this guy a call. So he called him, and they signed him to a book contract. You know, you're going to publish 3 new books for us. Yeah. But then, after they did fairly well, they expanded his contract to 6 books. So that's cool.
Nice.
I think. So, as of right now, I think the last one came out in 2015. According to this, I mean, it might be a little bit outdated already. But that he's in the process of writing more books for that series, so...
Sweet.
What do you think, my friend? He kind of made a comeback.
He did, and I'm here for it. Can't wait.
I need to find all these books and buy them on Amazon or something. And actually, our friend Mariah, she sent me a link a while back where you can actually rent these books online from a digital
bookstore,
whatever. So you download them to your phone or device, and then the file destroys itself after like 3 days or whatever. So
What? That's crazy technology. I just went on right now on Amazon to see if I could find like all of them, and they have them scattered, but like they have offers for like half sets and stuff like that. But I mean, and they're cheap. They're like $5. Some of them are $5, but a lot of them are on Kindle, so they're not the actual paperback. And I want the paperbacks. Like I don't want to do electronic. I have to have them in like physical form. Like I have a few, but I don't have a lot. So I mean, I'm gonna keep going to the thrift stores and like bookstores and see if they still exist. You know.
Dude, whatever you have, like if you have like one or two or whatever, however many you have, take pictures of it.
I will.
Share that with us so I can put them on social media and just.
Okay. I need to go through my stuff, but yeah, I'll do that because I've been like trying to rearrange my books anyway. So I'll look for those and I'll catalog them for you.
Nice. So yeah, it'd be nice for you to share those pictures with the audience, my friend.
I will.
And with me, so I can remember and know what to look for.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you have any other final comments on the book series or anything else about RL Stine?
Nope.
Before we end our academic segments?
I just want to see the other movie already.
Nice. So, all right, we'll be right back with our closing remarks after these messages. Stick around, please. Alright everybody, so if you are a regular listener, you might have noticed that we do not have a Know Thine Enemy segment for this one. And the reason for that is, Monica, like I was telling you earlier, that we have no in-depth knowledge on the witch just yet. So we want to wait until the whole story is revealed, and then we shall do a Know Thine Enemy on her when, I mean, the cat's out of the bag already. We're going to do part 3 next episode.
Yeah.
Why even pretend that we're gonna keep it like, you know, do something else?
True.
So yeah, I mean, that was it for tonight's episode. I want to thank everyone that took some time out of their busy schedule to listen to us, spend time with us. If you are a repeat listener, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We enjoy the fact that you're coming back for more EMBL and stuff. If you are a first-time listener, we hope you come back for more, so you become a repeat listener and keep joining us in this squad that we're building.
Woo! Yes.
So, any shout-outs, Monica, that you might have? I know this is kind of a question to ask you, but I just saw your face and I was like, yeah, I know the answer to this.
I already said my shout-out earlier to the guy who saved our lives. So, I know he doesn't know we have a podcast, but if somebody knows him, he lives, he's from Blythe, California, so shout out to that guy for helping us out. Thank you for saving our lives. And shout out to my dad because he's been asking about listening to the podcast, so I know he's gonna be listening to the episodes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and somebody else asked me when they come. I think it was my friend Alicia. She actually was listening or watching us on our live stream last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so shout out to her too, and my sister for joining as well. But yeah, thank you guys. See, I did have shout outs. Oh my god.
That shut me up really quickly. Thank you, my friend. You schooled me today.
Yes, I did.
Well, I have some shout outs of my own actually. I have, just in general, the people that are watching and liking our stuff on TikTok, because we are under now, like I mentioned, and we are under as Myths Behind Legends, and we shall share our other social media links in a bit. But yeah, that is our newest one. We are on TikTok. We've been there for about 3-4 days. Our videos are already kind of getting more views than I thought they would, to be honest. They're like already 300, 400, 500. I think one of them's got like almost 900 views, which is like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Nice, that's awesome.
I mean, if it's all computer bots, I don't care. I'll take it. So yes, and also I want to thank the hosts of the No More Late Fees podcast because Monica, they left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast.
Yay!
So I want to encourage everyone in the audience to do the same. Be more like them. They are they are great role models. Follow their example and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. We are on there too. We never mentioned, dude. Like, there's so many things that we're on that I never mentioned. I forget or the.
Yeah.
We are on. I mean, Podchaser is another outlet that I don't think it's a lot of love. I think it's a pretty cool place to hang out, and because Apple Podcast is just straight up podcasting, you can't do anything else. Like, you can't message anybody. You can leave reviews.
Oh, okay.
But with Podchaser, you can actually talk to them and follow them and give feedback on their episodes, which I think is a little bit more interactive. It's better for me. And I have a lot of problems, full disclosure. I have a lot of problems with Apple Podcasts because I gotta log in and I gotta do like a 3-factor verification and like do a code and a password and this and that, and then all the reviews, if they're from a different country, you gotta log into a different page for that.
What?
So I just found out about this a few weeks ago, where we have people that listen to us that are followers from Canada and places in Europe also that are like, dude, like, I left your review. How come you haven't told me, like, talked about it? I was like, what?
Oh, sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, not that we have a lot of them. I think we have maybe like 3 or 4 that are from foreign countries, but still, I mean, yeah, like, so Apple Podcast is a mess. I'm sorry, like, I mean, still listen to it. Don't take us off Apple Podcast. But get your game together, guys. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do better, and I mean, I think Podchaser, if it was up to me, I would be more on that platform. I would encourage people to go on there. It's, I think, a lot more user-friendly than Apple Podcasts, but that's just me. So, I became kind of like an old man rant there, screaming at clouds, but... but yeah, I said my piece, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, yes, Monica, let's remind our listeners of our other social media accounts. We have our Facebook under Exploring the Myths Behind the Legends, and we have our Instagram under Myths Behind LGDS.
Our Twitter is Myths Behind LGDS, and you can also email us at mythsbehindlegends@gmail.com.
Cool. And we have our letterbox, which once again is under Myths Behind LGDS. It's a movie blog type of review. You can go under, review movies, make lists, etc. And we have our legendary website, which is under myths-legends.mailchimpsites.com.
Yes.
Ooh, and one thing I forgot to mention, I can't believe I'm just remembering this. This is, my friend, episode number 50 for us.
Oh my god! That's awesome.
It's a landmark. It's a landmark episode for sure, and we got a couple of more before we end our 4th season, starting into season 5 sooner than I thought we would. But that's cool. I mean, I'm happy that we're here, and people seem to enjoy what we do. I mean, we have a loyal fan base, believe it or not. So thank you guys for being part of the EMBO squad. And if I may just really quickly, my friend, share a story of how I almost got killed at a summer camp.
What?
I don't think I ever told you the story, have I?
I don't think so.
So basically, what happened was I was about 8 or 9 years old. This is back in the early 90s. And my mom, with her best intentions, signed me up to this like summer camp activities type of thing. I was still living in Reynosa in Mexico, by the way.
Okay.
So I was a little kid, and she signs me up for this stuff. And the first couple of weeks, it's fun. It's just activities like they have us playing basketball, volleyball, running around, doing arts and crafts, stuff like that. Just fun all the way. The fateful day in which I almost met my death in that place. I mean, we weren't staying there though. It wasn't like a stay away camp, or like kind of like this in the movies and stuff like that. I was able to go home after I think I was there from 8 to noon or 8 to 1 in the afternoon or something like that. So it was for a few hours a day. It was Monday through Friday. So one day they decided, we're going to teach you guys swimming, right? They had a pool in this facility. So I go up there and everyone's kind of, they had ropes from one end of the pool to the next. You could hang onto them as you're trying to swim. So they they didn't have life preservers or lifesavers, but you could hang onto these ropes and kind of just paddle like a little dog across the thing, right? For some reason, the instructor went psychotic on me. I don't know. I can't remember doing anything to upset him, but I jump in the pool because it's my turn, right? And I'm trying to keep my head above water because I don't want to drown.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, "No, you need to go underwater." And he like takes my head and like shoves me under the water, dude.
Oh no!
And I'm trying to stroke because his maniac's trying to kill me. I mean, in my eyes, he's trying to kill me. But I mean, he was allegedly trying to teach me how to hold my breath underwater.
That's a very aggressive way to do that.
I mean, and I want to think that, in fact, that's what he was doing. I don't think he was actually trying to kill me, but but this is my story, so I can say what I want. So this guy is a mass murderer in my mind's memory. But dude, yeah, like he holds my head under the water, and I'm trying to go up, and I can't because this guy is like 40 years old, or whatever, and he's like 3 times my size. He's like 7 feet tall, whatever, like, you know, and he's like got these muscles like Schwarzenegger at. Just like embellishing the story.
Damn.
I mean, he was a pretty big dude. I mean, he wasn't huge or anything, but he was a pretty like burly kind of guy. And I'm like, dude, like I'm trying to breathe, and I'm trying to like put my head up, and then by this point I'm starting to lose consciousness. Like my mind is like I'm trying to like stay awake, and like there's water going into my system, to my lungs, or whatever. And so then I'm like, dude, like I'm fighting it. And then somebody else was like, "Oh, like, hey, just let him breathe, man, whatever." And he's like, "Well, yeah, but it's the only way that these kids can learn how to swim, blah blah, whatever." And I was like, "Dude," and by this time, some kids are kind of trying to watching me from the sidelines, from the pool, like the edge of the pool, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I survived that encounter, thankfully. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm in the Matrix.
Well, if you are mine, so. Well.
Maybe everything is a construct of my dying mind. I'm still in that pool right now. Getting all philosophical or metaphysical, whatever. But, well, anyways, long story short, I told the people, I want you guys to call my mom. Like, now, I got upset.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's wrong with this guy, but call my mom like right now. She needs to pick me up. I'm out of here. So my mom, being the soft-spoken person, not that she is, she's not soft-spoken at all. She went in there and argued with the guy and argued with everybody else, and she ended up taking me out of like she's like, "No, my kid's not coming back here ever again. Screw you guys." So,
wow.
Maybe that's why I relate to this movie, because I survived a summer camp killer. I don't know what you think, but
I mean, I would be pissed too if I was your mom. I'd be like, "What the fuck? What are you doing to my kid? Trying to kill him?"
Yeah, I mean, this is a true story, by the way. This did happen. I embellished it a little bit, but this guy actually did submerge my head underwater for like a minute, maybe. And he was like, "No, it's because you need to like hold your breath and learn how to swim." And I was like, "Dude, like I'm trying to survive here. Like, what are you doing?"
Not like that though. That's like trauma. That's traumatizing you.
Well, it is, because to this day I can't swim.
See what he did? Wow.
I never learned to swim. I mean, I like going in pools. I like going into the sea and everything. I'm not afraid of water, but I never learned to swim. Like I can't swim. Like if I jump into the water, I'm gonna sink like a rock, dude.
Oh, that sucks.
This happens every time that I jump into a pool. If I'm not in like the shallow end where like all the little kids hang out, I do not float. I sink like a rock, and I think it's just my panic from that moment, that throwback that kind of makes me like, no, I'm dead.
Oh
like,
no.
You guys can't see it, but I made like a little like dramatic motion.
Like a bug in the water. Just like,
yeah, which is why Monica's cracking up right now, but yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yes, that is my real life story of surviving an encounter with a summer camp killer, my friend. Or attempted murder, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yes, that was my story. I hope you guys enjoy that. And well, next episode we are doing, Monica, which movie?
I mean, we've been saying it. But it's going to be part 3 of the Fear Street movies.
Yes.
Was it 1666? I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, once again, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And come back for the next one, in which we conclude the Fear Street trilogy. And until then, be good to everybody. Be safe. Don't let people sink your heads into pools like this guy did to me.
So do it.
Have a great evening, morning, summer camp where mysterious witches possess people to kill. And we'll see you on the next one. Until then, have a good one.
Bye.